text tool, capital R. What's the font we used on this thing? Futura. Cool. Let's go back to our R. Beautiful. Perfectly matches up. And let's see if we can just replace that spline. Take that out. And it does the exact same thing, which is very, very handy for us. And if we activate we slide this into place, and oh, excuse me. Okay, we gotta find our bool, there we go. See that? Those are our existing bool objects, cloner object, little rods, but it looks like they've kind of separated out. So let's check that out, see what happened. Yeah, they're not hitting too well here. Let's add a couple of levels of density to it. Looks good. See what that looks like. But it's looking pretty good. I'm going to shift it over a teeny bit to the left, which is this. I would suggest labeling. I think that would come in handy here. Okay. And the great thing is, we can duplicate this, drag it to the right, and simply open it up, go to your text, throw in a T, and it's pretty much plug and play. You know, titling this T would be very helpful. R, A. You know, a few minor adjustments, like I might slide my cloner object over for better placement. Down. Yeah, I'm not super crazy about my R right now. Wish there was a way to bring the size down on the y-axis, which there is, so I'll do that. Just still getting used to talking as I'm doing this. Here we go. Cool. You know, there's some differences in density we're seeing here, obviously. Oh, and this one slid away from us somehow. Let's go back to our cloner object here. That doesn't matter. There we go. Oop, oop, oop. Crank this up a few. Bring our size back up high again. Check it out. I like it. I think it looks good. One thing we are going to need to do with these after we duplicate them is round the edges. Otherwise, it's not going to have the same look. So I'm going to quickly collapse these so it looks good. One thing I'm going to do here is duplicate this for our machine, and I'm gonna do this fairly quickly. All right, so I placed all of our text bits in place here, as you can see. And it's all looking pretty good, except we want to make them all rounded edges and maybe missing parts to look like this first one. So I'm going to go into the front view, F4, and I actually went in here and hit C on my text. So it's no longer dynamic, it's just a spline. But now we can select some points, chamfer them, and unfortunately doesn't look like there's a shortcut for chamfer, so you got to right click on it and move them around yourself. So I'm going to do a little chamfer there. I'm going to box select, not like that. Box select these, and let's see if I can actually just make them all a little bigger, because we don't want it to be outside of the red box here. The other tool here, Shampooer. Let's chamfer this one too. And you probably need to hit E after you click out of it, otherwise it will double E, or grab your live selection tool, because it will re-chamfer those selected dots if you just go ahead and click it again. So let's do this. I might delete a couple of these here. Yeah, that looks good there. I'm actually going to chamfer this dot here. Let's go ahead and select it, right click, do a big chamfer here. Redo that one. Okay. See, when I click that again, it was going to start and re-chamfering those two dots, but that's certainly not what I want. Live select here, chamfer. Get a big round there, so it looks kind of mingled. Live selection, and I can go to my recently selected tools. There's a number of ways to do it, but if there's a shortcut, I'd be happier boy. Okay, so we kind of got a demented looking piece there. Maybe we want to grab this and chamfer it to continue our smooth look. So I'm going to go ahead and make those changes for here and pause the video. Save you guys on some precious lifetime. Okay, I wanted to point out that I was just about finished here editing these pieces, and I did finally remember how to go back to the Shampooer tool, so I wanted to share that with you, and also just show you one of the little creative decisions you're able to make here. I hit M for the modeling, A to add a point, put a point there and a point here halfway through. Hit spacebar, that gets you the last tool. Select this one here, bring it down. So spacebar toggles back and forth between your previous tool. So that's a handy one to know. So chamfer, spacebar, select, chamfer, select your tool, hit spacebar and chamfer, and that's a lot easier. And I like this little shape here. It kind of follows the shape diagonally down it. And I made a couple creative decisions down the line. Some a little bit better than others, but I think they're all going to work. So if we take a look at it, that's our that's what we got out of this, and we have all of them labeled. And I duplicated that one. Oopsies. Sort of a, not really an artistic decision, but more of a time decision. Make that a lowercase. And I'm going to actually put these into a group. Group. Cool. And I'm going to label this art. I'm going to go AM plates. So when we start bringing back all the items by clicking their stoplights, checking it out. I noticed earlier that some of our gears were way out here, and we wanted to move those. I would like to move those in. So there we go. We get all the clutter inside. Let's move on back. And let's bring back our red and do a test render and see what we think from this point. Okay, obviously we don't have any lighting in there, but it's looking pretty good. Let's grab a slightly different angle. And I'm going to take these this metal from the gears, and let's see if I can put it on that. That works. Let's do another render. Cool, I'm going to bring in a few lights. Duplicate that. Bring one to the back. I'm going to dupe this again. And it's pretty cool. You know, we could put a background in there. How about we do that? I mean, it looks pretty cool. The reflections are nicely coming onto the metal. And, you know, you could be satisfied with this. I will throw a background in for fun, and I shouldn't move this around too much, because there's definitely a area I need to be in. Anyways, I'm gonna hit save. It's taking a little while. Background. Rename that background. Throw it on there. There's nothing on there yet. Let's go into our materials editor. And we don't want any specular. For color, I'm going to throw a gradient on there. Let's go into the gradient editor. Circular. Let's flip these around so it's more of a slight vignette that are oh so popular. Do test render. And that's looking pretty cool. You could throw some more lights in there, but the next step is animation. Okay, so now that we have a nice render, we can start animating. And if we're lucky, we organize these in such a way that we can do that quite easily. So I switched to animation layout by going to Window, Animation, so you can see that. And I put a camera in the scene. Grab our items and kind of squash them all together. But we do like the layout we have here, so we're going to save keyframes for where they are. So at the start, I think I'm going to go up to 30 frames is fine. And I'm actually going to lock the timeline to our timeline up here so that they're the same. It's pretty important. And front screws are all grouped together. So I'm going to grab the front screws here and lock their position in. So we get their coordinates here. Control click on all of them just to be safe in case we move them at all in another way. And let's grab the back screws as well. Their coordinates. Lock those in. I'm also going to hit show only animated elements here just to keep things nice and tidy. And I'm going to go to the back to frame 1. And I'm going to move these back screws up. To about there. That looks pretty good. Gonna have to re-keyframe. And that's the only one that moved, but just in case we move again, we're gonna put a keyframe in all of the X, Y, and Z coordinates. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the front screws. We're already at position number 1. And I'm going to bring it all the way back to here. And you'll see why once we squish everything in, that's where we want to be. That looks good for now. Hit that keyframe. That's the only one that counts. And we're going to do this with the other items. So let's go back to 30. You can see our screws moving over. And we're going to take art here and machine, hit keyframes, and we might as well grab the gears which seem to be out of place actually in their first position. So I'm going to move them here, hit them up for a keyframe. Let's see our plates. And looks like we have them all grouped together, which is very nice for us. Some keyframes. And let's move over to frame 1. The screws should match up now. And since we got the plates highlighted already, let's move those back. See how that looks? Maybe circle around here a bit. Looks like they're too far back. Cool. That looks pretty good. And we'll re-keyframe. Let's grab art, our outside text. Maybe we'll grab them both at once. Swing it back. And obviously we want to see our screws just pushing through. So that looks good to me. And hit those up on a keyframe. Obviously I'm holding control while I click these to set it. And gears. We're going to swing these in so that they're all behind everything. It looks like I had not keyframed those before, so I'm going to have to go back and do that one again. This one has been keyframed. Let's move these back. And, you know, they may not all fit in there on first move, so you may have to do a little adjusting so that they fit. But that's okay. Okay, so that's keyframe there. I'll just follow through. And as we scoot around, we can see most of the stuff is inside. There's a few little adjustments we could make. This is part of, might as well be part of the T here. Oop. This thing is a goner. Where is it? There we go. Sure, you can go there. Let's scoot back, and we have a pretty nice looking art machine there. And, you know, we do have a few problems there, and I'm going to ignore those for now. If we swing around back, we can see everything is shooting out. It looks pretty cool. Obviously, we don't have a back for 'em, but that's okay. It's just adding to the look. So we can do a little render pass, see what that looks like. And again, looks pretty cool. Now what are we going to do? We're going to add a camera. I could just play this for you from the side just so you can see what happens. F8 to play. We're getting some real slow movements here, but you get the idea. Stop that. Check it out. Looks pretty cool. So maybe the first movement is going to be a fly through the middle while that opens up. So let's. We're from the camera view, as you can see here. So let's line this up. And obviously we're going to start with it close. So we're starting right here. May want to grab a slightly different angle at that. And let's hit a position keyframe here on the camera. And as that opens up, we want to end up Y is up, X is across, so we'll zoom through it to there. And I may exit out of that and bring it down in the Y axis a little bit. Hit the keyframes and check out what it's doing. See it zooming by. Let's turn the camera back on so you can see it. And we zoom in there just as it opens up, so you get kind of a dramatic effect. I kind of want to start a little bit higher. So I'm going to go back to the first keyframe and adjust my Y coordinate up a bit, reinitiate that keyframe. I'm going to check this display for low just so we can get a bit of a faster render. Yeah, here we go. See, very dramatic effect. And we have some loose gears there that are kind of going wild. Let's see what's happening with those. That's a part of our gear 1. Maybe I will hit a keyframe here. See if that holds them down. Okay, they're still moving. What's happening there? Gears 2 don't have a keyframe here. And I would want to move those up. Sorry, just a bit of adjustment here. No big deal. We can handle this. Let's bring these gears out a teeny bit. And hit our keyframes. And what's with the loose keyframes? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? Is there like a lost keyframe somewhere? Looks like we have a bunch of keyframes here on this gear, and I don't know why that happened, but we got rid of that problem, didn't we? No, we didn't. Let's check out what's going on. Okay, there's one keyframe at the end. I don't remember how that happened. I didn't do that. And I'm saving right now. Just a very helpful thing to do. I suggest saving incrementally just so that you don't get too lost and you can't return to where you were. You can't fix the problems you created. So here we go. We got that, and you can see the camera shooting dramatically through. Beautiful. That's our first shot. Next thing we want to do is duplicate the same movements with this thing opening up, but we're going to do a spin around it and land on our final shot with everything expanded. So, how do we do multiple shots? We get another camera. And do a couple more things here. I'm going to add a cinema tag target. I'm also going to add a null object. Bear with me here if you do or do not know how to do this, or fast forward if you do. Okay, so the null object is more or less in the middle of our subject here. And we click on the target, drag this as a target object. We could rename it so we're not confused later. And now our second camera, camera 2, we'll use that as its point of reference when we move around. And another thing we're going to want to do here, I'm going to check out the top view. Let's see, we don't have a top view. Let's see if we can get that. We'll check out the perspective view. We'll just go to the top. How about that? Okay, let's turn that camera off. Sorry guys, bear with me here. We were having a bit of a problem because we had that null object identified. Anyways, I'm going over the top so I can get a spline, a circle spline. And we're bit crunchy over here, but I'm going to make this a bit bigger so I can see it. And that ain't no circle. Did I select the wrong spline there? Did anyone see what I did? Okay. I think that we can just add some. Nope. We want to hit that up for 90 degrees. And let's go back to our perspective view so we can see how circular this is. It's not very circular. That isn't it. That's not it. There we go. That's what we wanted. Cool. So now we can collapse that a bit. And on our second camera, we're going to add one more Cinema 4D tag, and that's Align to Spline. I think you know where we're going here. Grab the circle, drag it in. And now when we check out what the eyes of this camera is looking at, and we change this position, see I'm on this, we get a nice spin around. And it looks like our target, which is a null object, is not in the complete center. So as we move that, we see our view changing. So go back to this spline tag. And as we zoom around, that looks pretty cool. This is going to be our final view, but we want to be a bit zoomed in. So as we grab this camera, maybe we change the field of view or the focal length. Something like that. Looks good to me. Let's go back to, yeah, this thing is, there's not enough room here. Go back to this Align to Spline expression tag, and we could start right there. We could animate it, and then boom, slows down, finishes right here. And I think our camera wants to be turned slightly. Let's see if we can go to, maybe we'll grab the null object or the target. Go back a little bit. Yeah, we need a little more room. Camera. Focal length. Bit more room. Looks good. Okay, now to animate this, we're going to go from this Align to Spline tag. And this will be our finishing position right there. So let's move over to 120. You know, more frames the better. You can fix your speed later and you'll have more frames to work with. Always more frames. Add a little position keyframe or a keyframe on the percentage that this thing is wrapping around the spline. Let's go back to 35. And start from there, and everything will be closed up because we're going to duplicate that so we can get more cool movement in there. Position keyframe, and we got a nice finishing spot right there. And I like to mess around with these Bezier curves right in here because it makes the animation much smoother. So when we, where are we at? Here we go. Can get slightly confusing with two different timelines. Okay, so that's where it finishes out. Here it is. It's already finishing fairly smooth, but if we zoom out, go back, zoom out. Yeah, this is not easy to maneuver. Anyways, if I pull this curve back a bit, it's just going to finish smoother. You know, nice slow stop. Trust me. It's all the same stuff. This in After Effects. A nice slow stop. Cool. Now we don't really need this many frames. Maybe 800. 200. Just be easier to wrap our heads around this. Okay. So now we got that. We're going to have to duplicate. Let's go back to our keyframes view. A little more familiar. And the summary is our friend. So I'm going to want to grab these keyframes minus the camera. So I'm going to grab everything below it. And what I did was hold Control, and I dragged it over. So I highlighted the keyframes I want, hold Control, and I dragged it over. And what I'm going to do here is hold Option and drag it over. So this thing is it's basically expanding the time in which it takes for that to open up. And look, we have a ton of gears that are just everywhere. We're going to have to put those back. But see, whoop, whoop, whoop. It opens up. That's when it finishes. And I might want to have that finish a little earlier, because that's kind of a slow finish there. Let's go check out the problem with these gears. What you guys doing out here, gears? This is gears 1. So we'll go back to here. See if we can't push these back. Yeah, they're all over the place. So that's going to take a little doing. So I'll push this back into here until I can redo that keyframe coordinates. Boom. And what I'm going to have to do is individually grab these and pull them in. But let's leave that for now. Oop, and I'm way off. Scoot that over. Okay. You get the idea for that. We basically have all the movements, but we need to do a camera switch in between. Otherwise, we're going to be holed up on this second camera through this first move. We don't want that. So we're going to grab a stage object. So we're going to grab a stage object from this pull down here so we can animate the change. So when we're here, click on the stage object. We're going to put camera 1 right in there. Boom. Zooming through there. And then right at that point, we want to switch to camera 2. Where's our stage object over here? So, boom, putting in a keyframe. And then here, grab camera 2. Boom, putting in the keyframe. So it switches a little bit early, but it gets us in one full render. We have all the data in there we want. And we can chop it, when we're cut a little bit in Final Cut or in After Effects. And, our gears are placed out here, but that could look kind of cool. Sometimes it works. There it is. I'm going to switch back to a different layout, standard layout, so we can, blow it up a bit. So we can get kind of a cooler look at the renders. I do kind of like it. It's cool. It's definitely sloppy and messy, and you can tell I'm being very lazy by not putting those back in. But zooming right through. But before we're done, we're going to have to change this level of detail back to high, medium, where we were at. It's going to slow everything down, but exporting. General, full render, output. We got our full 1080p HD. This is important. Render all frames. Save, pick a file name. Art machine, pick a location. I've already done this. We're not doing any multipass stuff. This is important. Want to hit up best and 2x2 on the maximum to really get that aliasing, just not have a problem when you get out. You just want to let this thing render for a while, and you'll be good to take it in After Effects, adjust the curves, and finish out your video. Add some sound effects, whatever. So that's basically it. That'll finish out the tutorial, and you've made yourself a neat video. See how that looks. Pretty neat. Pretty neat when every frame looks real cool. Thanks for joining me. I hope it wasn't too frustrating for you, because it wasn't frustrating for me at all.